I never thought a simple sleepover could turn into the most traumatic night of my life, but looking back at the clumps of my hair scattered on the floor like dead leaves, I realized that some people don't just want to hurt you. They want to destroy who you are. I woke up to the sound of muffled giggles and the sharp, electric buzz of hair clippers right against my scalp. And by the time I could even process what was happening, half of my long, thick hair was already gone. I stood there in front of the bathroom mirror, trembling and unrecognizable, while the girl I thought was my friend laughed as if she'd just pulled a harmless prank. Was I wrong for the way I chose to get my revenge? Or would you have done something even worse if someone stole your identity and your dignity in a single night? I need you to listen to the whole story and tell me if my reaction was justified or if I went too far. To understand how things got this bad, I have to go back to the beginning of the school year when I first met Chloe. She was the definition of a mean girl. Rich, popular, and incredibly manipulative. She had this way of making you feel like the most important person in the world one second, and then making you feel like absolute trash the next. I was the new girl in town, and for some reason, Chloe decided to take me under her wing. At first, I was flattered. I thought I had bypassed the lonely new kid phase and jumped straight into the inner circle. But as the months went by, I started to see the cracks in her mask. She didn't want a friend. She wanted a sidekick she could control. She would constantly make little suggestions about my clothes, my makeup, and especially my hair. I had very long, dark hair that I'd been growing out for years, and it was the one thing I was truly proud of. My mother used to spend hours brushing it when I was little, telling me it was my crowning glory, and it had become a huge part of my self-image. Chloe would always touch it with this weird, possessive flick of her wrist and say things like, "It's so heavy, don't you think it makes your face look small?" Or "I saw this really cute pixie cut that would look amazing on you." I always laughed it off, telling her I loved my hair the way it was, but she never let it go. She would bring it up at lunch, during gym class, and even send me links to extreme makeover videos on TikTok. It felt like she was obsessed with changing me. The tension really started to build when a guy named Marcus started showing interest in me. Marcus was the guy every girl wanted, including Chloe. She had been chasing him for over a year, claiming they were meant to be, because their families were both wealthy. But Marcus and I actually had a lot in common. We both liked the same obscure bands, shared a passion for film photography, and spent our weekends hiking the trails behind the town. He told me once that he liked how real I was compared to the other girls in our social circle. When he asked me to the winter formal instead of her, I saw a look in Chloe's eyes that terrified me. It wasn't just anger, it was pure, calculated malice. It was the look of a predator who had just been denied its prey. She didn't scream or throw a tantrum. Instead, she hugged me and said, "I'm so happy for you, babe. We have to celebrate. We should have a sleepover at my place to plan your outfit." That was the first red flag I ignored. I wanted to believe she was being genuine, that our friendship was stronger than a crush on a guy. I wanted to fit in so badly that I blinded myself to the obvious trap she was setting. She invited me and 3 other girls, Sarah, Mia, and Becca, over for a bonding sleepover at her massive house the weekend before the dance. These girls were basically Chloe's shadows. They did whatever she said and laughed at whoever she targeted. I should have known better than to walk into a house where I was outnumbered 4-1. The night started off normally, almost too normally. We ordered expensive pizza, watched cheesy rom-coms, and did elaborate charcoal face masks. But Chloe was being unusually insistent about the spa aspect of the night. She kept offering me these drinks she'd mixed herself in her high-end blender, saying they were special beauty smoothies, filled with vitamins and collagen for the glow-up I needed before the dance. They tasted a bit chalky, a bit bitter under the sweetness of the berries, but I didn't want to be rude. I drank 2 large glasses. Looking back, I'm almost certain she put something in them, likely some kind of heavy-duty sleep aid or crushed-up pills, to make me sleep deeper, because usually, I'm the kind of person who wakes up if a floorboard creaks. Around midnight, I started feeling incredibly drowsy, a heavy leaden feeling that started in my limbs and clouded my brain. My vision was swimming, and I could barely keep my head up. I excused myself and crashed on the sleeping bag in her guest room. I remember drifting off to the sound of them whispering and the faint, metallic click of something being opened, but I was too drugged to care. I woke up at 3 a.m. to a cold sensation on my head, and a vibrating noise that felt like it was rattling my teeth. My eyes snapped open, but my body felt like it was made of stone. I saw Chloe standing over me, illuminated only by the blue light of her phone, with her brother's professional hair clippers in her hand. Before I could even scream or push her away, she'd already made a huge, aggressive pass right down the middle of my head, from my forehead to the nape of my neck. I felt the weight of my hair vanish. I scrambled back, hitting my head against the bed frame, sobbing and reaching up to feel my scalp. It was smooth. It was bare. It was cold. She had a look of manic glee on her face, her eyes wide and reflecting the light. The other girls were standing in the doorway. Sarah was filming on her phone. Mia was covering her mouth but not moving to help, and Becca was just staring at the floor. Chloe just shrugged and said, "Oops, I guess I got carried away with the trim. But look on the bright side, now you don't have to worry about styling it for the dance. Marcus likes natural girls, right? Now you're as natural as a newborn baby." They all started laughing, that high-pitched, mocking cackle that still haunts my dreams. I spent the rest of the night locked in her bathroom, staring at the ruin of my hair in the mirror. I looked like a monster. Clumps were hanging off the sides, while the middle was a jagged, white strip of skin. I had never felt so small, so ugly, and so utterly betrayed. I felt like she hadn't just cut my hair. She had cut away my confidence, my safety, and my soul. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. I could have just gone home and cried, or I could have let her get away with it. But in that moment, something inside me snapped. The fog from the drinks finally cleared, and it was replaced by a cold, burning rage. Before I tell you how I handled the next 24 hours and the ultimate revenge I took on Chloe, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have called the police? Would you have shaved her head while she slept? Or would you have found a way to ruin her entire reputation? I need to know if I'm the only one who would have gone to the lengths I did to make her regret the day she ever met me. I didn't call my parents right away. I knew if I did, they would just take me home, call her parents, and there would be some boring apology and maybe a school suspension. No, that wasn't enough. I wanted Chloe to feel exactly what I was feeling. The total loss of control. I waited until the house was silent again, until the girls had gone back to sleep, thinking they had won. I knew where Chloe kept her most prized possessions because she loved to brag about them. She had this burn book-style diary hidden behind a loose panel in her walk-in closet where she wrote down every secret she had on everyone in school. Every affair, every lie, every weakness, to keep them under her thumb. While everyone was passed out, I quietly exited the bathroom. I didn't touch her hair. That would be too easy, and frankly, I didn't want to lower myself to her physical level. Instead, I took her diary and photographed every single page with my phone, my hands shaking with a mix of fear and adrenaline. I saw secrets that made my stomach turn. How she'd actually been the one to leak her best friend Sarah's private photos last year. How she had cheated on every single math test since freshman year. And most importantly, detailed notes about her father's shady business dealings and tax evasion that she had overheard him discussing in his office. But I didn't stop there. I found her expensive, custom-made silk dress for the formal, a dress she'd been bragging about for months. I didn't rip it. Ripping it is obvious. Instead, I took a bottle of permanent, industrial-grade fabric dye I found in her craft room, the kind used for dyeing heavy wool, and I meticulously soaked the inside of the bodice and the armpits. It looked perfectly fine on the outside, but the moment she put it on and her body heat caused her to sweat even slightly, the dye would activate and stain her skin a deep, bruised purple that would take weeks to scrub off. Then, I decided to leave her a visual reminder of what she'd done. I took the clumps of my own hair from the floor, my beautiful, long hair that she'd treated like trash, and I used a strong adhesive to stick them all over the handles of her designer handbags and inside her favorite Ugg boots. It was a gruesome, hairy mess. It looked like a horror movie set. I left the house at 5 a.m., walking 2 miles home in the freezing cold with a hoodie pulled low over my bald head. When my parents saw me, they were horrified. My mother actually screamed, and my dad looked like he was going to drive over to Chloe's and tear the house down. I told them everything, but I begged them to give me 24 hours to handle it my way before they called the school. They were reluctant, but they saw the look in my eyes. I wasn't a victim anymore. I went to a professional stylist that morning who helped me shave the rest of it into a clean, intentional-looking buzz cut. I'm not going to lie. I cried the whole time the remaining strands fell to the floor. But when I looked in the mirror afterward, I didn't see the new girl, who was desperate for Chloe's approval. I saw a warrior. I saw someone who was ready for war. The day of the winter formal arrived. Chloe had spent the weekend spreading a rumor that I'd had a mental breakdown and shaved my own head because I couldn't handle the pressure of being with Marcus. When I walked into the school gym for the pre-dance assembly, the room went dead silent. Everyone was staring. Chloe was sitting in the front row, flanked by her cronies, wearing a smug, triumphant grin. She thought she had broken me. She thought I would be hiding at home. I walked right past her, head held high, rocking the buzz cut like it was a fashion choice. I looked her dead in the eye and winked. Her grin faltered just a little. The assembly began, and the principal started the year in review slideshow. This was the moment. I had spent the previous afternoon with the AV club president, a guy named Leo who Chloe had bullied relentlessly for his weight. I had given him the thumb drive and told him exactly when to plug it in. Instead of photos of the varsity basketball team, the massive projector screen suddenly displayed high-resolution photos of Chloe's diary. The room exploded into whispers that quickly turned into shouts. Every mean thing she'd ever said about Sarah's weight, Mia's family problems, and the principal's secret drinking habit was up there for everyone to see. Sarah stood up and screamed at Chloe. The inner circle dissolved in seconds. But the real climax came when I walked onto the stage, took the microphone from the shocked principal, and said, "Chloe, you told me Marcus likes natural girls. I think it's time everyone saw how natural you really are." I handed her a small wrapped box. In front of the whole school, pressured by the crowd, she opened it. Inside was the last remaining clump of my hair and a note that read, "You can cut my hair, but you'll never have my spirit. Also hope you like your dress." She was trembling, her face turning a deep shade of red that matched the purple dye that was already starting to seep through her dress and stain her neck. She tried to yell at me, but she was interrupted by the school's resource officer and the principal, who had seen the slides about her father's business and her own cheating. The aftermath was a total collapse of the Chloe empire. Her parents were investigated based on the information in her diary, and her father ended up facing massive fines for tax fraud. Chloe was expelled for the drugging and the physical assault of cutting my hair, but the social punishment was even worse. No one would talk to her. Even her loyal friends turned into her fiercest enemies. She eventually had to move 2 states away to live with an aunt because the bullying she faced was so intense. As for me, the transition wasn't easy. I had nightmares for months about the sound of those clippers. But something amazing happened. Other girls started coming up to me, telling me about how Chloe had bullied them, too. I became a symbol of standing up to her. And Marcus? He didn't care about the hair. He told me that seeing me walk into that gym with a buzzed head and a smile made him realize I was the bravest person he'd ever met. We went to the dance, and I've never felt more beautiful. Looking back, losing my hair was one of the hardest things I've ever gone through. But it taught me that my beauty isn't tied to a strand of hair. It's tied to my strength and my refusal to be a victim. Chloe tried to take my power, and instead, she gave me the platform to show everyone who she really was. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that bullies only have power in the dark. Once you shine a light on them, they wither away into nothing. Like this video if you were on my side and think she got what she deserved. If you think I went too far by leaking her diary and ruining her family, let me know in the comments. But I personally don't regret a single second of it. Subscribe for more stories like this where the underdog finally wins, and the mean girls finally get their comeuppance. And share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section below. I'll see you all in the next story.